So today we are going to start the strategic alignment, which is the second topic.
Hold on.
Things we have already studied.
I'll
We have
grab
talked
my
about
notes
the
first. One
Yes,
moment.
Mhm.
This is lesson number 2.
No, this
No,
is still
topic.
the first lesson, the second topic of the first lesson.
Gosh, Suhail will be here forever. We're still on topic B.
First few lessons are quite long, and then
Okay.
because you might have learned a lot of basics, so we would be moving faster later.
Okay. Love.
So, like this slide, we have already talked about the PMI talent triangle in our earlier lectures. We said this talent triangle represents 3 vertices: way of working, power skills, and business acumen. And that is not only required for your PMP certification, but once you are a certified project management professional, to upkeep your PMP status, you will have to build your skills in these 3 areas continuously. So anyways, I'll just move on from this slide. We have seen this question also, so I'll also skip that. Okay, now let us talk something serious. Let's talk about the strategic alignment and business management skills. Basically, what we are trying to do here is to establish the business acumen. We need to understand what is the vision, mission, and strategic objectives of our organization. What are their strategic plans? And are we really aligned with them or not? Now, before we can start discussing that, I would like to ask you a few questions. And you have to, honestly tell me, do you know your organization's strategic plan in whatever position you are? Are you well aware about your strategic plan of the organization?
Yes.
Good. If you do know your strategic plan, naturally, whatever you do, whether you are managing a PMO or you are running a project, you would always be keeping that strategic plan in your mind. And if something is not really contributing to the strategic plan, you would be alarmed. Second question, do you understand how project goals matter to an organization's long-term vision and mission? Can you somehow relate your project with the larger vision and mission of the organization? Okay.
Yes.
So that way, you will never divert from your right direction. If your project is taking you elsewhere, you would say, oh, this is not what we are doing, is not according to the vision and mission of the organization. And therefore, you must warn others that this project is against the organizational objectives. This is against the vision and mission of the organization. We'll talk more about vision and mission. But right now, third question, see a high-level overview of the organization. From the project perspective, you look at things in a quite detailed format. But do you have a view from the organizational perspective? Because organization might be looking at many initiatives going on in the organization, some operations, some projects, and many other things. So can you look at your work from the high level perspective of the organization, how the CEO looks at your initiative and things like that? Good. Fourth question is, have a working knowledge of business functions. When you are, whatever position you are working in, have you coordinated and established a communication channel with other business managers, whomsoever might be involved in one way or the other in your project? Do you understand what they do? What are their business functions? And if you do, then you would know whom to get in touch with in what circumstances. Last question is, have pertinent product and industry expertise. Whatever project you are doing, are you qualified in dealing with that kind of thing? Whatever is the expertise or the product required, do you have any knowledge and expertise about that field? That is again very important. If you are just a project manager and maybe you are in a trucking business and you have never understood what trucking really means, it might be an uphill task for you. So what is your answer for that?
That's a tricky one.
Uh-huh.
That's a tricky one.
I
You
don't want
see,
you to be kind of a PhD in that topic, but at least just like you understand the other functions of the organization, do you understand the basic terminology and the way of working in that technology?
yeah, but the question is, have industry expertise.
Yes,
Expertise
pertinent
is
product and
not a
industry
low
expertise.
knowledge.
Have you ever worked in that field before? If not,
No.
still you can survive, but then you will have to gain a little bit of knowledge about how that industry or the product works. And if you are comfortable with it, then you can continue. So you have to gain that kind of expertise before undertaking that kind of job. So these were some of the questions which link you with the strategic plan, the vision, mission, business functions, high-level overview, and the specific to the product industry expertise. Now, a few more questions about, for example, can you explain the essential business aspects of a project? Now, this is very interesting. You know the, organizational objectives, the business functions, you know how the organization works. Can you relate your project, what essential business aspects this project is going to satisfy ultimately? If somebody asks you, what is the benefit you are going to bring to the organization or to the business, can you satisfy that person?
Yeah.
Good. So that is again a very important aspect, that you should relate to the business and can convince anyone how your project is contributing to the larger organization. Okay. Can you work with subject matter experts and a sponsor to develop an appropriate project delivery strategy? Again, the knowledge of the organization, how the organization works, will come handy to you. But naturally, you may not be an expert of everything. You may be, seeking guidance from some consultants or subject matter experts on certain topics. And naturally, your boss, the sponsor, might be holding a lot of data and authority. So maybe you have to consult with him or her, as if you can, in a consortium, you can be able to develop a most appropriate project delivery strategy. How are we going to deliver the deliverable or the output of this project in the most efficient manner?
So, sorry, just going back to the previous one, have pertinent product and industry expertise. Are you talking about a project manager?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we are
this is
talking
about
from
project
the
manager.
perspective of project manager. If you are to build a bridge, have you ever had an experience in building bridges or in construction, right? So that expertise might be required by the project manager. I'm not saying it is compulsory, but it would be handy.
So what happens if your job is the PMO?
Well, PMO is different. No, still, if it is a construction company PMO, then definitely you must know very well about construction. But if it is something else, well, things you could have learned over time, that is very much possible. But
But
I would
in my
strongly
role,
recommend. Yes, please.
in my role, for example, I have, trucking, warehousing, construction, new product development, business transformation. These are all different field. You know what I mean?
They are. But you know, if you are a MBA or maybe you are a supply chain manager, I think, you know, if you have studied these subjects, probably
Mm.
you can relate all of these things together, right?
Or operations.
Yeah, because
Right. I'm
operational
talking about,
knowledge and you know these kind of supply chain, these are the crux of these topics which you have just told me.
yeah,
This is
but
not an engineering.
operations.
You don't have to be a driver to, you know,
Mm.
run a truck.
But operations are quite different. We're talking about equipment.
Yes,
Like, for
of course. You
example,
must be aware about the
mm,
needs of your organization. How do they run their business? And naturally, without that knowledge, you won't be able to perform well. Do you agree with me?
not really, because that's tricky. Because one project that we're running is about a heat exchanger, right? About a heat exchanger for a manufacturing site, which is
Right.
very much operational.
Right.
Another project, we're running a warehousing,
Okay.
completely different field, right?
Well, you see,
But,
as a PMO, you cannot
mm,
hold knowledge for everything, but
correct.
you know a little bit about everything. You have
Okay,
got
okay.
access to the subject matter experts. You have
Yeah.
access to the consultants. You have
Mm,
access to your boss, to your sponsor,
okay.
to your
Yeah.
CEO. So naturally, this point, work with SMEs and sponsor to develop an appropriate project delivery strategy. It is not you alone. You know, the
Okay.
project
Understood.
manager and the SMEs and the
Mm,
sponsor, they all are contributing to that. And you, sitting in a
mm.
PMO, are just watching over it.
Yeah,
So
clear.
you need not be an expert of everything,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, clear.
But definitely, if it was a project manager, I would say if you are doing a heat exchange project, then
Mm,
project manager must be a professional in that area, isn't
mm.
it?
Yeah.
But you as a PMO probably do not. But because we are studying project management right now,
Mm-hmm.
and PMO is altogether a different subject and it has different needs. So
Mm-hmm.
we will talk about it when we are sometime studying more detail
Yeah.
in PMO. There is a certification on PMO as well by PMI.
Okay.
And
And
I would
the
strongly recommend as a person heading a PMO,
mhm.
probably that could be your next interest.
And so how this person, hello,
Yes, Tahir.
yeah,
Hello.
Tahir,
Yeah.
is he like, I'm asking a lot of question, Tahir, but I don't
Right.
know if you're here to like
No, no,
learn,
it's okay.
if you're
It's
learning
for
as well.
learning. Yeah,
If you're
for
learning
learning,
about
it's
this,
very good.
if you're learning about this topic too, you probably want to ask other questions. Otherwise, sometimes me and Suhail, I have a good debate with him.
Actually, Tahir has
Oh,
attended the whole course earlier and
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
he has debated with me a lot.
Okay.
That's why he's silent. But if at all he has anything, he will talk about it. And
Okay.
I will
I
encourage
will
Tahir.
definitely.
You should
Yeah.
be asking questions as well, right?
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so that point is clear. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
the last point. Can you
Mm-hmm.
implement strategy? I mean, the organizational strategy to maximize the business value of project. Whenever I talk about business value, it
Mm-hmm.
is the organizational value. It is the benefit going to the organization. It is the
Mm-hmm.
benefit going to the business, right? So question again is, are you able to convert that benefit to the organization through your project? And in a roundabout way, I'm asking you the same thing, that you know what the business value is, and can you implement your project in such a way that you can maximize the business value?
When you're talking about business value, are you talking about quantitative, like dollar value, or are you talking about like,
Definitely dollar value. I mean,
okay.
that could be tangible, that could be intangible, but generally
Mm-hmm.
you understand that this, whatever we are doing, it is adding value to the organization, tangibly or intangibly. If it is not, then probably your project is not going in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. The answer is yes.
Good enough. Okay, after these questions, let us now be clarified about this thing. That is the pyramid within the organization. The upper three levels, the vision, mission, organization, strategy, and objective, they are actually not your responsibility as a project manager or as a PMO in charge. These are basically the responsibility of the strategic people who are creating those strategies, who are, kind of conceiving the vision and the mission and all. But at the same time, as a project manager, you should be fully and well aware about what exactly is the vision, what exactly is the mission of the organization, what is the organization strategy and objective we are following, as if whatever you do in your project, our program, our portfolio, that must be properly aligned with that organizational strategy and objective. Okay. But let us dive a little deeper into each one of these concepts. Can you define to me what is the vision of your organization? In general, maybe not the exact statement, but in general, what is the vision of your organization?
The vision of the organization.
Yeah. Overall organization, whole organization.
I feel like if I say it, it'll be the wrong answer.
No, actually, there is no wrong answer. The only thing is, if you are conceptually in the right direction, I'll let you know. I want to hear what you say, then I will give my opinion.
I think as a whole, right? The vision is to be better than where the company is right now. And when I say better, it can be in different aspects. It could be financially, it could be scale.
Okay.
It could be portfolio. You might want to be the best in a particular area.
Good enough. Okay. Yes, of course. First, you have to decide in what particular area. If at all you want to cover all of these grounds, then we have to use a word which could cover them all, rather than enumerating it, because vision is a very short statement. But at the same time, you cannot start the vision with a to statement. To do this is not a vision. Vision is like a dream your company sees where in future they would like themselves to see. Right? And it could be like a dream. It could be, I don't say that it should not be doable, but it should be broadly a dream. And all company members, all the people in the company must agree to that vision, or for that matter, I would say they all, contributed for that dream, for that vision. They all must be participants in creating that vision.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, how do you see, if I ask you to develop a vision for your organization, how do you see your organization after 25 years? Today, you know what your organization is. Where do you want to see your organization in 25 years? Can you give me a short statement on that? A brief statement. Where do you want to see your organization? But it should be a bit quantitative. I should be able to kind of measure it.
Are you talking about the company that I work for in terms of what the vision is?
Yeah. If you have to give a vision for this company, you know its current capability and capacity, financial or whatever. I don't mind. All of those things are included. But you are at a status right now. Where do you want to see this organization in 25 years?
I think the company wants to be the largest distribution network.
Good.
Something like that, right?
In a specific region or the whole world?
We could try with the whole world,
Okay.
wherever we exist at the moment, for example.
And where do you grade yourself right now in your country? Are you the best?
Yeah.
You are one of the best, right?
Yes, we're the largest.
You are the largest. Very nice. I think this is a doable kind of a vision. You are already the best in your country, and naturally you want to expand globally. I think that is a very nice vision that you want to be
We're
the.
not, I don't think we're the best. We're the
uh
largest,
You are the largest.
but
Okay.
not the
So
best.
there are two objectives then.
You know what I
First, to
mean? The
become the
best.
best. First, to become the best in your country, then expand out globally, and then be the largest and the best company in the world in the area you are operating. I see this is a very good dream. I see it is a very good vision. It is a kind of quantitative also. It is uh, not explicit, and it is still a dream, right? It
That's
may or
true.
may not be possible. So before you can do something, you must have courage to dream it. If you can't dream it, trust me, you can't do it. When you dream it, it becomes a vision. And when you set your foot down to do it, that is your mission. Mission, again, is a statement which is kind of for the next 25 years. But now, because it is no more, you are no more dreaming. Now you have to put it into words, into executable words. For example, to be the best organization, best and the largest trucking organization or whatever you do in the world, or globally recognize yourself in that level in 25 years, right? We will talk about the strategies later, but first we have put down this statement as our mission statement. Mission statement always start with a to do this. A vision statement cannot start with a to, because vision statement is a dream. So you are now translating your vision into a doable statement, then it becomes a mission. Now, one more question here. How much is the contribution of the employees of the organization in the development of the vision and the mission? Do they have a say where the company should go? Like, you are just an employee, you are not sitting in the strategic committee, or you are not the CEO of the organization, but still you are able to give your mind to me. This could be your dream. This could, how you take it. Does it resonate with the dreams of the other people in the organization, no matter if they are lower down or they are sitting on top? Does this vision of yours resonate with others? Do you think so?
I
Did it?
think sorry,
Yes,
I
Suhail?
think it is a very mandatory thing. Our vision is everyone resonate the mission.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now,
big,
the interesting thing about it is why I'm explaining it so much is because people think that the leader sitting up there is totally responsible for creating the vision and mission and maybe the strategy committee, and nobody else has anything to do with it. That is absolutely a wrong concept.
exactly.
The person sitting on top, who you think is a visionary leader and can is singly responsible for creating this vision, is absolutely wrong. The person sitting on top is a leader, and the work of a leader is to involve and engage his or our people, and all of our people, no matter whoever is in the organization, they all must be involved and engaged in the exercise of developing the vision in one way or the other. Maybe you do an opinion poll. Maybe you want to just do a survey from all employees and ask them, where do you want to see the organization in the next 25 years? And once all the opinions have been gathered, only then the strategic committee sits down and tries to convert it into words. And then once it is agreed, before announcing it, they will share it with all the employees, as if they have any comments, they have any differences, they can submit. Naturally, it's the rule of majority. If few of the people are not agreeing, but most of people are agreeing, probably this is a good enough vision, right? So I am totally against the concept that a leader is the visionary leader and he can dream only. Yes, I agree. A person who behaves like the way I just explained to you, who takes into confidence all the employees of the people and their input is considered in developing the vision and mission, probably I would call this guy as a visionary leader because he knows how to develop a vision. He doesn't want to claim the whole uh, credit for creating the vision. No, a good leader never, ever claims the whole credit all by himself or herself. I hope that discussion is okay because I have faced it all my life that we think that person sitting on top is the boss. In an autocratic system, he is the boss and he says what to do. He can imagine, he can visualize. Nobody else is supposed to visualize. Nobody else is supposed to be engaged. And in most of the organizations I've seen, the vision, mission, and organization strategy is not even known to anyone else in the organization except the strategic committee who created it. And if you read the vision, mission, and organization strategy of such organizations, they will be in such a difficult language that a normal man or a normal employee would not be able to even interpret it, would not understand what that means.
Those are two different statements, what you just said, right?
Vision and mission.
No, one is whether the employees are aware of the vision and mission.
Must be aware of, yes.
Right? That's a yes. Two, they should be part of the development of the vision and mission.
Yes.
That's questionable because we're talking about CEO all the way to people on the ground, and sometimes that's not possible.
I am telling you the most preferred approach. Most preferred approach.
Good practice. Yes.
Very, best practice, I would say. This is the best possible way that everyone has been involved in creation of vision and mission.
Which company has done that?
Okay. Many companies have done that. Many companies have done that. Just look at the PMI. PMI created the vision, how this PMI thing will set out and what are our objectives. And they gathered around many people who started becoming members of PMI, and they all supported the cause, right? So initially, naturally, there were only 5 people who started PMI, so they gave their vision. But then when the people started joining, they actually either accepted or rejected it, right? And based on their opinion, the vision was constantly revised. And ultimately, you can see even the PMBOK is in the 7th edition, and it is greatly different from the initial PMBOK, which was written in 1996.
So the leadership team could start the vision and mission, and then you get feedback, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
But that is only when you are setting up a new organization. If the organization is already existing and you have got, say, 3,000 employees, then you can't ignore them directly. You have to take their opinion. But anyways, even if you do or you don't, then the next level would be that you create the vision. The strategic committee creates the vision in simple language.
Yeah.
The vision and mission statement should not be a difficult language or a very long statement. It should be a one-sentence statement which could be easy to read and understand, and everyone can understand it. Now,
Yeah.
they have to publicize it to everyone
Mhm.
and try to bring them on their side. You know, if you can't take their opinion, at least you can motivate them to follow this vision or mission which they have created. This is the second best I can say. If the people were not involved in creation of vision and mission, at least motivate them to follow the vision and mission you have created. But again, the question is, the statement of vision and mission should be simple enough for a common layman to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, once you have the mission, say in 25 years, naturally you have to go global and everything, biggest and the largest, right? So that could not be done by just adopting one odd strategy. You will have to create many organizational strategies, like, first to become the best organization within your country in this business, right? One main strategy could be that. Second strategy could be to spread out into neighboring countries or neighboring areas and spread your business around in the continent, right? And maybe the third objective is there would be a different strategy for that. And third strategy could be to go global. I don't know. You could have a lot many organization strategies. Maybe there are 25 different organizational strategies which you have listed down, and you think that if all of these 25 strategies were completed, we would have achieved our mission. Do you agree with me? So we have established that these are the 25 organizational strategies which we have to accomplish as if our mission can be completed, and thus we will achieve the vision. Okay. Now, under those 25 strategies, under each one of those 25 strategies, you will have to define the objectives of each strategy. I hope you understand my point.
I'm just
One
looking.
organization strategy can be broken down into a couple of objectives, maybe 5, 7, or 10 objectives under each strategy. Now, whomsoever is responsible for looking after that strategy number 1 will ensure that all the 10 objectives ultimately get completed. And when those 10 objectives get completed, our strategy number 1 will be considered accomplished. See? So if all the 25 strategies get accomplished, your mission is achieved. That is what you have to achieve in next 25 years. Right? Now, you have created the organizational strategies and broken them down into objectives. So, for example, if you had 10 objectives against every strategy, you have 250 objectives to meet. 250 objectives to meet, right? In 25 years, right? I'm just doing simple maths. For example, you say, naturally you will observe how this is going to outlay in next 25 years, but let us do the simple maths. How many objectives will you achieve every 5 years? So divide 2500 by 5, right?
500.
So almost 500 objectives to be achieved in every 5 years. And if I say break it down to the yearly, it would be around 100 objectives per year. If you can do that, you create your long-term plan is 25 years. You break it down into mid-term plan in 5-year brackets, and further break it down into short-term plans of 1 year. That is how your organization plans, right? Countries and organizations plan their future in that way. Long-term plan, mid-term plan, and the short-term plan. And now you as a PMO or a project manager, you are responsible for some of the objectives for this year's strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely you should be hooked with that. Although you should understand the whole vision, whole mission, the whole strategy, but at the same time, you would be more focused on this year's objectives and strategies. Do you agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how this whole pyramid is created. But now we have explained the upper three layers, which
Why
you
this
should be
year?
aware about. Yes, please.
Why this year?
Okay, if you are, you know, during this year, your financial managers would be, distributing funds according to the strategies accomplished this year. I'm trying to
Okay.
tell you that you should think like them. Although your project could be 2, 3, or 4 years long, but during those 4 years, you may be linked with many objectives. But currently,
Okay.
the phase you are doing right now in this year probably with resonate with the financial plan for this year.
Okay. Understood. Okay.
Okay. Now, for achieving those strategies, you have to take certain actions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those actions could be operations, normal functional operational work of the organization will also be accomplishing certain, for example, you are manufacturing something, right? By manufacturing that thing, you are satisfying some of the objectives and ultimately some of the strategies due to that.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
But you see, everything cannot be accomplished through operations because operations are bounded by the standard operating procedures. These are things we already know how to do, and that's why we created procedures for them. And we have told our manufacturing staff to follow that mechanism, follow that, supply chain or whatever, and they will be able to produce goods and ultimately be able to satisfy certain objectives and strategies.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you have to bring a lot many changes in your organization. Your way of working might have to change. You are talking about 25 years and you are talking about being the best and the largest organization in the world. Then probably you have to bring a lot many changes in your organization. Even your procedures will have to be changing over time.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I tell you? How do you bring a change in the organization? Through initiatives you have never done before.
Yeah.
And you create those initiatives, and those initiatives could be projects or programs. And they could be, they could fall under a larger portfolio. I'll talk about the portfolio projects and programs, but portfolio projects and programs is the mechanism which brings change in the organization, considering projects being the smallest unit to bring change. Program is a little larger unit to bring change, and portfolio is generally the mechanism which supports that change.
Mm-hmm.
And naturally, you understand, operations are also part of bringing the value to the organization by production. They are not bringing any change. Operations do not bring any change, but they produce. Now, let us divide these initiatives into two parts. The bottom layer, on the left-hand side, you can see just the operations. All the operations, management of ongoing operations, which is like a recurring activity because we are following some standard operating procedures. So we are just, we are not inventing anything new, but by following those procedures, those mechanisms, we are able to manufacture and produce value consistently, thus achieving the certain organizational strategies and objectives. Agreed?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Are you saying operations the we're talking about operation staff that does day to day. They
Yes.
do day-to-day operation, right?
Yes.
I understand that they do the same thing every day. Their job is actually a good job is consistency. Do the
Of
same thing
course.
every day to deliver, right?
Yes.
Are you saying that when we're bringing change
Hmm.
or any new initiatives,
Right.
they can't do it or they can do
Operations can't do it. Operations can't do it because when you try to bring a change, you have
it?
to experiment.
So, but are you saying they can't manage a project?
They cannot manage a project. But yes, of course, there is a possibility that
Mhm.
you can run a project within a operational, organization. Like, the manufacturing department want to experiment with a new way of manufacturing. So
Mhm.
they can set aside a team who can
Mhm.
do a project. And if that project is successful, they can adopt that mechanism in their SOPs with the permission of the higher management.
Mhm.
Right? So change can only be brought up through the project. Project is the smallest unit of change. Operations by themselves, I mean, the manufacturing process itself cannot change over,
I
while
see
it is
what you
running.
mean. I see, because they have their day to day. What you're saying is they can run project, but they have to be taken out of their environment and they have to run a project as a experiment.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
I understand. I understand.
So you got that. Very nice.
Hmm.
Okay. What next? Tahir, are you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, that was as far as the operations were concerned. And you see, they are recurring, activities, and they are responsible for producing value for the organization. I don't say operations are useless and everything is in project management. No, actually, I would say operations are the lifeblood of the organization. If you stop operations, organization will fall flat on its face. You, can you stop manufacturing or can you stop all the operations of the organization for 1 day or 10 days or a month and still survive?
No.
So operations are the lifeblood of the organization. Without operations, you are nothing. But at the same time, if you want to improve your operation, if you want to excel, if you want to move towards your objective or vision, you have to bring certain improvements in your operations. You have to invent new ways of doing things. And whenever there is a challenge, there is a there is a there is something to be which has never been done before. There is to be something new initiative taken. Then we come over to the projects, programs, and the concept of portfolios. I'll
What if
explain
you
them.
have
Yes,
what
please.
if you have what if you have a safety stock?
You
You
have.
can if you have safety stock, you can stop operations.
Well, it is not advisable to stop operations because uh, for example, there is a big problem in your organization and you think that the current operations are causing a lot of damage to the organization. You immediately decide to stop it. So you have intentionally taken a decision to avoid that risk of destruction, right? So you are fine with the idea that rather than going into that destruction, we could stop our productivity. We do not earn profit for some time while we experiment with an idea. And if that idea is successful, we can again restart our operation, but that would only be in case of an emergency.
We do that.
Normally, a
We do that
proactive
all the time.
organization would realize the problem much before it has occurred, and the operations would be running while they will be experimenting, and slowly and steadily they will introduce the change into the operation, and thus your operation should never stop.
Okay, you're talking about a big stop because when we're running a factory trial, you are stopping production and you are experimenting. So,
Factory trial is a project. factory trial is a project.
Yes. Yes, but
While
that's what
they
I'm
were,
saying. You're stopping manufacturing to do
yes,
your trial,
okay, the
right? So
manufacturing might stop for short
a
time.
day,
It is not
one
going to
day.
stop forever, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, people were experimenting and doing things, and ultimately they say, now we have to try to implement it. Please stop operations for one day. We will,
Mm,
1 day or 2 days or week, and we will show you the results, and then you can adopt it. Fine. No problem with it.
Okay.
That is natural.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay. So we are concentrating on this box, that is management of authorized projects and programs. Why did I not mention portfolio here? I have mentioned programs and projects. They are projectized activities and they do not produce value, but they increase the value prediction capability. By that experiment, we prove that we can do these things better, and then we teach those methods to the operations people, and new SOPs are formed. So that is, we are not producing value by itself, but we are increasing the value production capacity by doing projects and programs. I hope you get that point. Okay.
Was your question why you haven't been talking about portfolio in
Yes,
there?
exactly. Portfolio was here, but not here. What
Because
was the reason?
portfolio is a collection of either projects or programs. So they're not, they're not granular enough for you to create value. A collection of them would,
I think you are
create the
right.
long term.
You're right in a way. But you see, project is an initiative which will be accomplishing its goal, and then finish. So project, you understand, has a start and an end, right? Same is true for the programs. Program may be a little larger. Maybe, a program can go on for years, but program will also end someday. So it also follows the same principle. Program must be started at some point in time and must be finished at some point in time.
Yeah.
So they do not have, they both have definite lifespan.
Yeah.
Portfolio is just a management mechanism of all the ongoing projects and programs. I hope you understand my point.
Yeah.
So projects can come and go, programs can come and go, but portfolio is going to be consistently there. New projects will enter into the portfolio. New programs will enter into the portfolio. Portfolio is supposed to never end. Therefore, we cannot treat it purely like a project or a program because they do not have a definitive life.
Yeah.
You understand? That's why portfolio is very much related to projects and programs, but this is not operations, but it's something like operations. Therefore,
what you're
because this
saying
is
is
also ongoing.
portfolio is more of a management mechanisms, whereas programs and projects, they have a start and an end date.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
He's just looking after them, which projects and which programs to be included. Rather, that looks at the projects and programs from a strategic and financial investment point of view. Which projects to be funded, which projects and programs to be funded, which are not doing well. So we should stop them, and we should divert this funding to more promising projects and programs, things like that. These are the responsibilities of the portfolio. He looks after all the ongoing projects and programs and make decisions about their fate, what is to be started and what is to be stopped. Anyways, now you understand that how this all fits in together. Last but not the least, because this is the same organization has got their organizational resources. They have limited resources. They cannot have unlimited or infinite resources available to the organization. These are the resources which have to be used by all operations and all projects and all programs and even the portfolio. Whatever is happening in the organization is to be done through these organizational resources. Therefore, we have to manage them very carefully and distribute them amongst these initiatives appropriate. In one organization, maybe operations are more important, manufacturing is more important, they give a little room for projects and programs. So maybe the bulk of the organizational resources are channeled to operations, and maybe only 10% of resources are going to new initiatives, projects and programs. On the other hand, if it is a projectized organization, probably more of the resources are going towards these new initiatives, and there is a balance maybe among the operations and the projects and programs, right? So, but remember, there are limited resources. That means even if your organization is very enthusiastic about doing experiments and new projects and programs, they cannot fund more than a specific number of projects and programs. And that is why portfolio management is there. To control the funds, to control the investment going into projects and programs. We cannot start everything. They will have a limited funding, and with remaining within that funding limit, they could start only a couple of projects and programs, and the remaining may be still sitting in the waiting list. And while new business cases are being created, new projects and programs are being conceived, but only those projects and programs will be started which are allowed by the portfolio, looking at the organizational resource. I hope I make that point clear. One last thing I want to discuss, if you are satisfied with all this.
You're saying there are limited resources when it comes to programs and projects, so that it's the
not only programs and projects, but limited resources for whole of the organization.
Okay.
Right? So they are the same resources out of which I have to give a share to operations, give a share to projects and programs, and manage them all together in a very cohesive manner. So I can't give everything to projects. I can't give everything to operations, because the other thing will be suffering. Yeah, clear.
So you're saying there are limited resources for the whole organizations,
exactly,
and that's both for operations and for projects, so that sometimes it may go towards more operations, sometimes more towards the projects, and it's up to the triangle above it, your portfolio management, to decide which one should be started, which one should be stopped, and how you manage the resources. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
Okay. While accomplishing your vision or this whole pyramid, you might have come up with a concept of KPIs in your life. Can you define to me, what do you think a KPI is? Who creates that KPI? And how does it work?
Again, this may be the wrong answer, because we've discovered for 9 hours that my organization works in a non-best practice way, right?
Okay, no problem.
So I think the KPI is typically set at the top first, right? And then it gets cascaded into the next level down.
Very nice.
Right? So that they understand what the leadership's KPIs are. And then as the team members, they then recommend, or not recommend, they then relate how can their KPI contribute to the higher KPIs.
Right.
And then you set them.
Very nice. I think this is the very right answer you have given. So generally, from the top of the organization, some kind of KPIs are established to control all the elements of the organization. So the CEO and the strategic committee will devise a number of KPIs to keep an eye on everything what is happening in the organization, but they will be very broadly framed KPIs. For example, if there are many departments in the organization, they might be looking at, naturally they are getting progress from every department, but KPIs are different. KPIs are what we are most interested in seeing. Maybe they are interested in seeing the productivity. Maybe they are interested in seeing the what do you call it? Uh, the rate of attrition in the employees. What do you call that? The people, how many people are leaving the organization?
Staff retention.
Staff retention, and then maybe the employee happiness, the level of happiness and satisfaction, right?
Engagement.
And the level of happiness and satisfaction of your customers or stakeholders. Maybe these are the 4 KPIs with the top level executive, and if they see that all of these KPIs are being accomplished, they will be satisfied. They will not bother you any further. But you see, you are the finance manager in that organization, and you are reporting to your boss about the KPIs they have given you. But within your financial department, how are you going to translate those 4 KPIs downwards? You have to create your own KPIs. Maybe this time there are about 12 KPIs. You are distributing them to various sub-departments in the finance, and they would be fulfilling that. So generally speaking, I would say KPI is normally created by the boss. Now, which boss? Any boss who is above you. So they can be trickling down, as you said, there will be trickle down effect down to the lowest level. And that is the control mechanism. But the problem with the KPI is that this is created by the mindset of a single person or a single team who are creating those KPIs. And they may be ad hoc. They are always created from top down. And they may look very good to you, but sometimes they may be very unreasonable. And interestingly, they may or may not align with the organizational strategies and the objectives. They may be showing the level of satisfaction of the boss, not alignment with the organization strategy or objective. That could be a problem. But if you have a good boss, you would always ensure that they are properly aligned with your strategy. But there is a fear that KPIs may divert towards the favoritism of the boss, in which direction maybe he is more inclined towards certain things, so he would put KPIs in that area, which are otherwise not really that important for accomplishing the strategy, right?
Like the sale targets,
Right?
especially like the sale targets,
Right. Exactly.
especially in banking industry or any other, you can
Yes.
say that.
Yes.
They're like not easily to do it.
Right. Now, very interestingly, with the advent of Agile, we have seen a new terminology, which is OKR, which is fast replacing the concept of KPI now. OKR stands for Objectives and Key Results. Now, let me describe that, and you will be fascinated by this concept, because this is directly hooked into the organizational strategy and objective. It is not coming from top. This is something which is established from bottom up. You know, you have been given strategies. You divided it into 25 objectives. Each one of those objectives are divided into 10 objectives. There were 25 strategies. You divided them into 10 objectives each, and each objective may have to be subdivided into sub-objectives. It can further be broken down. And after that, you could, when it cannot be broken down any further, you will put a key result. What are the key results of that specific sub-objective? Right? I hope you're understanding me. I have broken down the objectives to the level they can be broken down to. Objective, sub-objective, maybe sub-sub-objective, but it cannot be broken further. I say, okay, this is all right. Now, this sub-objective may be converted. What are the key results which can be shown, which will prove that this sub objective has been achieved.
I need example.
Okay. For example, one of your sub objective was that for example, your production rate must increase to from 2,000 to 10,000, right? Now you say, then I have three key results in it. Number one, to improve our production capacity, we were able to procure equipment or materials which are sufficient to handle 10,000 production. Number two key result could be we are able to perform that work according to schedule and ultimately produce that result. And the final would be that we were able to, deliver those 10,000 items. So that would be accomplishment of that sub objective. So I can divide a sub objective into certain key results. So that is called objective and key results. That would eliminate the need for any kind of KPIs. We can actually achieve those key results, and not only our bosses will be satisfied, but also we will be satisfying the upper objective and the strategy and the mission and the vision. We are actually tied up to the whole chain, rather than having ad hoc KPIs coming from diverse executives. These key results are not produced by executives. These are created by the people who are going to do the work. They translate the objectives into key results.
What
And
would be,
if you're, yes, please.
As a project manager, what is typically their KPIs from your experience?
You see, okay, let me show you. A project manager.
I understand, like the KPI is almost like I don't mean to say old school, but it's an old way of measuring success because it doesn't always align with the company vision and mission.
Right.
And this in Agile, the OKRs, which is objective and key results, you get that from the project that you're trying to achieve. It tells you what is the objective of this.
Just hold on a minute. This is not about project management.
Okay.
Agile is not a project management approach only. Agile is a mindset, right?
Okay.
That mindset came up with the idea of OKRs. And that is implementable at organizational level, not only at the project level. But it is very helpful if we can break it down to the OKR level. We can also be able to accomplish our projects in a more productive manner.
I thought that
this applies to operations and projects both.
I know, but if the example was about increasing production from 2,000 to 10,000, that feels very much at the low level of...
Yeah, it's a very low level. It is one of the operations have the... Yeah. Actually, OKRs will be set at the low level. Yeah, whereas the KPIs are set at the top level.
Correct. That's what I was trying to explain. OKR is established at the bottom of the pyramid, isn't it? But
bottom of the food chain.
But what you're saying is that it's a way of thinking.
It's a way of thinking, and it's a different way of thinking. We have been living with the idea of KPIs forever. But now, I think you should search on internet what is the difference between OKR and KPIs, and you will find a lot many interesting diagrams comparing these two.
Okay.
That will actually clear everything for you. But I tell you, by and large, OKRs are always the best. Okay. They are always comparable to KPIs. They are better than KPIs.
Yeah.
Right. Although they are not very widely known worldwide, people are still very much in habit of using KPIs. But I think it is a changing trend now.
Mm-hmm.
People will ultimately be moving to OKRs and KPIs will be forgotten one day.
Mm-hmm.
But it is all your wish and will, which approach you want to take. But this is a modern approach of doing things. So maybe
Yeah.
OKRs could be more appropriate for any kind of organization.
And I had a question about, in your experience, what is typically the KPIs of project managers in organizations?
Okay, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
For that, I must make you understand that it is coming from the boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
KPIs are created by the boss. Who is your
Mm-hmm.
boss as a project manager? Project sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, you see, you as a project manager are able to look into the project, control everything in the project. So it is like a transparent box to you.
So when you talk about the project managers reporting to the sponsors,
Yes.
are you talking for the project?
Yeah, for
or
the project.
are you
For the
talking
project.
in the
For the project.
organization?
So your boss, project sponsor, will tell you what
Mm.
are his KPIs, because you might have a lot many things to report, but he would be interested in knowing certain things. Those certain things he will mention as his KPIs.
Okay,
right?
KPIs for the project.
For the project, right?
Okay.
Right. So that is
Clear.
how the KPIs are established for the project. So they are not
Okay.
for the consumption of the project manager, they are for the consumption of the project sponsor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Similarly, project manager may not know as much as a team lead may know,
Mm-hmm.
because team lead is handling with the minute details, and project manager may not be kind of really conversant with what is happening within a team, but he is getting some kind of report from them.
Mm-hmm.
So translating the KPIs given to him by the sponsor, he could create his own KPIs with which he would be able to monitor his teams, whether they are meeting the targets or not, right? So maybe he's not, involved very much in the teamwork, but still he could monitor them through establishing certain KPIs. But this is only true for a very large project. For a small project, project managers should know everything. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, you're talking about KPIs for a particular project that should be set by the sponsor.
Yes.
Whereas
Correct.
I was
And actually, this is a trickle-down effect of the top-level KPIs established by the CEO. Then maybe, in your structure, there was a portfolio manager. He gave his own KPIs. And then the program manager, he gave his own KPIs. And then the project manager. Yes, please.
Correct, right? So I'm not talking about project work, I'm talking about organizations. The project manager reports to the PMO in this case, to me, right?
Okay, fine. You give the KPIs.
Right? So then at the end of the year, you rate how the project manager performed, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's a different KPI than a project KPI that they are running.
Exactly. And you see, this is the direct translation from top down. The KPI is given by the CEO, KPI is given by this, KPI is given by the PMO, KPI is given by the project manager to his team. So they will expand. They will expand downwards.
A KPI for a particular project might be
given by the PMO.
Like if we're talking about operations, to your example before, targets achieved, production went up from 2,000 to 10,000 through new ways of working. That's the KPI of the project.
Right.
Whereas for a PMO, for me, setting the KPI for the project manager might be project is governed using best practices, using good practices.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Actually, you remember we talked about the governance needs of the PMO. PMO is actually dealing with the governance. That's why you are setting those rules. You might not be interested, but project manager is actually doing inside. But he must follow those governance rules. So these are your KPIs.
Okay, clear.
Anyways, I think this is a great discussion, and we have talked about the whole pyramid and the concept of KPIs and OKRs in this slide. We have been talking for some time. If you want, we can have a break. Is it all right
Sure.
with you?
Sure.
That one page took an hour.
Yeah, of course, but that was really important discussion, I think.
Will there be in the quiz? It's like we
Yeah,
have
of course, there will be, the way I have explained it to you, probably you have no clear concept. Anybody can ask you any question about what is vision, what is mission, how these things are linked, how the object. There are not many
Remember,
questions you can answer.
I'm not very good with quizzes.
Okay,
We need
no
to
problem.
practice.
Okay,
Okay,
so
sure.
we are having a 10-minute break,
Okay,
and here it starts.
perfect. See you soon.
See you.
Hello.
Welcome back. Hello.
Thank you.
Tahir, are you there?
He's
Tahir?
gone.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should start.
Yeah.
Right. So the next topic is organizational influences. Well, these are the influences within the organization which happen maybe, due to the causes external to the organization or causes internal to the organization. But there are certain influences which are influencing the whole working of the organization. For example, the weather in which you are operating, uh, the whole organization is influenced by that, right? The time zone you are working in, the whole, organization is influenced by that. And actually, if there is a project running in it, that would also be governed by that. So there
Is
are
this
some internal
the
and some
same as this?
external. Yes, please.
Is this the same as this?
Yes. Yeah, this
Remember?
diagram is coming later. Yeah, this diagram is
Okay.
coming. Is the next diagram.
Okay. It's the external, internal environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So your influences could either be internal and external enterprise environmental factors. Now, what is an enterprise environmental factor? This is a terminology invented by PMI, and it is now being widely used internationally. Even, International Institute of Business Analysis is also using these terminologies, the enterprise environmental factors, and the other terminology is organizational process assets, right? So what are enterprise environmental factors? These could be internal or external to the organization. And these are those factors in the environment of the organization which are affecting it in one way or the other. So you can understand what are the external environmental factors. Can you give me an example of an external environmental factor?
Impacting what specifically? The organization
The
or
whole
like the
organization.
project?
Yeah. What could be that?
The project or the organization?
No, organization.
Oh, I don't know, competitors?
Okay. As I said, the weather conditions, the environment, or for that matter, the government regulations, or
Government
things like that.
regulations.
Yes, please.
Yeah, government regulations,
Government
policies,
regulations, yes. International laws, or anything
international
which
law.
is not in control. External environmental factors are those which are not in control of the organization, but they are imposed on the organization by some body or some environmental condition, right? And what is an internal environmental factor? That is not coming from the external environment, but this is coming from the internal environment of the organization. Like,
Like
your project is affected by the company procedures and laws, your organizational culture, your work style of working in that organization, and things like that. These are the internal enterprise environmental factors. So looking at from the
Can
project
you repeat that
perspective,
last, can you
yes,
repeat that
please.
last sentence, please? The
Say-
internal factors?
Okay, let us look at it from the project perspective. What are the external environmental factors on a project? Previously, I said from the organizational perspective, but now I'm saying it. What are the enterprise environmental factors, external enterprise environmental factors, which are affecting your project?
there
Availability.
Like?
there are certain guidelines we have to follow, like health and safety program
Okay.
um, on the project.
Maybe the
Uh,
building code if you are doing a construction
but
project.
exactly the building code,
The law of
uh,
the land,
law of the land.
or for
Yeah.
that matter, any natural things you can think of.
Uh, External, it could be a climatic uh,
It could be a climatic condition. It is snowing
climatic
outside and
condition.
you can't work, right?
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yes, Nurul, can you come up with something?
I was still stuck around the internal organizational factor. I didn't hear what you
No,
said
no.
earlier. Sorry.
Forget about the organizational thing. We are talking about internal and external enterprise environmental factors,
I know,
right?
but I missed what you said earlier.
Okay, remaining within, from the perspective of a project, what are the things affecting you externally? Like Tahir has mentioned, it could be the law of the land, or the regulations, or the environmental laws and policies, or the conditions like the weather condition which is affecting you, or the climatic condition. These all are impacting the working of your project, aren't they? They are
Mm-hmm.
not in your control, but they are impacting you. So such like things are called external enterprise environmental factors. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about some internal enterprise environmental factors. Again, not in your control as a project manager, but they have been imposed on you by your own organization, right? So can you think of something, Nurul?
Like the company culture,
Company culture, yes.
if the management is bureaucratic, uh, you can say they can affect the uh, uh, they have lot of effect on the project.
Maybe they are too autocratic. They are too
Uh,
autocratic.
again,
That is also an
yeah,
internal enterprise environmental factor.
yeah, exactly.
Or they want a lot of documentation,
Yeah,
right?
they want reports every other day.
Yes,
Your style of working, ways of working.
right. If your organization has a open door policy, that would have a different impact on the project. And if you have closed door policy, it will have a different impact on the project. These are also internal enterprise environmental factors.
Like in the closed door policy, every other employee is trying to uh, influence every other employee try to
Mhm.
impact on the project. Uh,
Not really, not
Maybe
really.
create hurdles.
This is like, the closed door policy is that the management is not accessible.
Yeah.
Management is sitting behind closed doors and they are not accessible to the project manager or the employees, right?
So
They have
they
very strict
cannot
rules that
discuss.
you can only go for an appointment and only then you can meet. And so this is a closed door policy. Open door policy
So
is the CEO's door is open, all the doors are open. Rather, I would say in modern workspace, we don't have walls at all the employees, even from CEO to the lowest level of person, they all are sitting on a same floor without any walls. That is an open door policy. Anybody can walk to the CEO and talk to him. This is an open door policy. That whether you have an open door policy or a closed door policy, this is a internal enterprise environmental factor.
so closed door policy, there may comes with delays in project.
Naturally.
Yeah.
That is normally
Uh,
happening in the government offices.
yeah.
They don't give access to people to talk to them. You have to take an appointment. They will delay you and things like that. But in where there are open door policy, like you have got a customer support, anybody can walk out there and give out their concerns, and they can be resolved instantaneously. You see, efficiency increases that way.
Don't you think that's
Uh,
kind of disruptive? People just walking up and,
Okay,
you know?
you see, The leader
Okay.
is supposed to be available to the people. He doesn't have anything else to do, right?
Mm,
The work is being done by the people who are working under him. So he should always be available for support, right? Okay, if you believe that he has got a lot of work and he will be disturbed, even then you could have a policy that, okay, these are the hours I will not be available for public interaction. Maybe early morning, 9 to 12, I will be working my office work. And after that, I am available for anyone to walk into my office.
okay.
Is
I
it
think
doable?
I've never experienced that. Like they call it an open door office. It just means that you can make an appointment. You can meet, but there has to be an appointment. But
No,
anybody
that is
can.
not open door. That is not open door. That is a closed door
This
policy.
is
They are
closed. Yeah.
prohibiting people from meeting them very occasionally. A open door policy is where you can walk into your CEO's office anytime without any
I know,
appointment.
I understand the concept of open door and closed door. What I'm saying is it's not practical for people to just walk up. Sometimes there are so many
Okay,
people. So
tell me one thing.
they're available, you just have to like wait for your line. You know what I mean? So
Have
they're
you have you ever been exposed to an environment in which all the employees are sitting in the same floor without any walls? Have you seen
yes,
such offices?
that's where I'm at the moment. Even then, you can't just walk up. They're
You can't
busy,
walk
you know?
up. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of bureaucracy still there.
Mm.
I have
But that's
seen one of the
it's
organizations
everywhere.
is a very
Mm.
famous organization, Telenor. Heard about it? Telenor is a mobile cellular company, and they, when established their offices in my country,
Mm.
they had a new CEO. Probably he was from Italy or something,
Mm.
and he said that there will be no offices at all. They
Mhm.
hired a building with open space, and people were sitting there, and there were no spaces assigned for anyone. They were
Okay.
just like tables and
Hot
chairs
desking.
lying everywhere.
Yeah.
Whomsoever comes first can sit anywhere.
Yeah.
If CEO came late, he would maybe sitting with a clerk. He doesn't mind, right? And moreover, everyone is accessible. If anyone has got any problem, maybe you walk up to your supervisor and he is not solving your problem. You can directly walk up to your CEO and tell him, well, this is the problem and my job is important, and supervisor is not, solving my problem, right?
Mhm.
That is the reason why the things get accelerated. You know, there is no ego. There is no ego in that, right? Because I am a very senior person, so nobody should talk to me like that. No, that thing is old time story. Nowadays, people are open and they are at the equal footing.
I'm
I
not
hope you
saying they're
understand
not
my point.
equal. I'm saying they are equal. We operate at an open office. The CEO is just around the corner. You know what I mean?
Okay,
There's no
good.
door or anything, but there is no more such a thing. You can just come up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's the culture. That actually comes under internal and enterprise environmental factors. You know, it's open. You can
Yeah, yeah, I
absolutely
understand. I
speak,
understand.
but you just have to book an appointment because
Yeah, I
everybody.
understand. So
Okay.
your internal enterprise environmental factor is slightly different from the Telenor one, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
But I don't mind it. It is all right. You are at liberty to have your own mechanism, and it is also a very good mechanism. But
Mm.
it could be even better. But it
So,
will differ from organization to organization. So I am
so when
not
you talk
advocating
about,
that you should follow the Telenor style or whatever, but this is good enough. If you have an understanding, if you are already sitting in open offices, then probably you are 90% good.
so when you're talking about internal environmental factors,
Yes.
are you, what about things like resources?
Uh, they are also internal environmental factors because they're coming from the organization. Organization is assigning resources to
Correct.
you. This is also controlled by the organization, but it is not in control of the project manager.
Correct.
So I will count them in internal enterprise environmental factors.
Okay, I understand.
So you see, these are factors.
Mm.
Internal or external, but these are factors. These are situations which happen. These are not documents. These are not orders. These are not policies. But this is just the way of working.
Yeah.
If we talk about the documentation, the chain of command, and the kind of the governance and the policies and procedures, then we have to talk about OPAs. And OPAs means organizational process assets. These are not external at all. They are always internal. The policies, procedures are given by the organization to the project. Therefore, they are always internal. What are they? They are like for your project, what are the policies, procedures, templates, rules, regulations, all of those things, governance, all of those things are organizational process assets, but they are in two categories. One category is which you are given and you are to follow. You can't amend them. You can't change them. You just have to follow the orders, what orders have been given to you. So this one category, I would like to call it read only. And then there is another category, that is when you do your project, you learn a lot many things and you submit those lessons learned to the organization to be put into the historical project information or a database or an archive where all the older documentations of the projects are stored. This is where you are contributing. You are not only reading the older documents for guidance, but you are also submitting your own experiences and records into the historical database, as if others to follow will also be able to access that. This is, I would call, read and write. You can read from the old lessons learned, and you can write on them your own lessons for the future generations to come. So this is the second part, historical project information. So we also can call it corporate knowledge base. Right? So I suppose this slide is amply clear to you. There are two types of influences: enterprise environmental factors and organization process assets. Enterprise environmental factors could either be external or internal, and organizational process assets could also be in two categories. One are read-only and one are read and write. Read-only are the policies, procedures, and processes, and read and write is the lessons learned or the corporate knowledge base.
Yeah, clear.
If you are good with it, this one slide is also important and interesting because actually this is required normally when we are doing the business analysis. When we are doing the feasibility of anything, naturally the first thing which comes to your mind, that feasibility is financial in nature. Yes, I do agree with it, but it is not always only financial. There are other aspects to look at, like, the political aspect, the economic aspect, the socio-cultural, technical, legal, environmental. So you see, it's not only the money. It is not only the economic, but other factors have to be seen. And for that, there are a couple of methods to do that kind of feasibility or analysis. Environmental analysis, which is kind of a business environment in which you are working. You want to analyze that environment, what project can be suitable and what cannot be suitable in this environment. So there are three methods right now listed here. One is called a PESLE, or some people call it PESLTE, PESLET. So this is a PESLE analysis, which every character of it is meant for P for political, E for economic, S for sociocultural, T for technical, L for legal, and E for environmental. I don't want to go into the detail of it, but this is for a larger project, and it is the oldest analysis technique available. For any kind of project in a country, wherever you are living, you normally could have done a PESLE analysis, but I would say it is a high-level analysis. But for more technical projects, we may resort to a little drill-down model of it, which is called TCOP model. TCOP is technical, environmental, commercial, operational, and political. So you do the analysis in these 5 categories. Now, let us see the comparison. Technical is there in the PESLE also. Environmental is also there. But commercial is not there. In a PESLE analysis, we have economic analysis. Like you see, you are doing analysis of a country, you are doing analysis of a company. So you are more concerned about economic side of it. But when you are doing a technical project, you are more interested in the commercial aspect, not the economic aspect, right? Moreover, we are yes, political at the technical level, there will be political, but there is no need for legal and socio-cultural environment in a technical analysis. In TCOP, we just look at the operational aspects, right? So you see, if the things are done at a higher level, at a strategic level, at an organizational level, probably PESLE analysis would be best. But at a technical level, TCOP analysis is a more appropriate analysis. But very recently, like, with the agile mindset, there is a new method which came up, which is getting very popular nowadays. It is called VUCA. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, this is interesting because none of these items we have seen in PESLE are TCOP analysis. It is looking at things with a very different angle. How volatile this project is, how uncertain this project is, how complex this project is, and how ambiguous this project is. Probably these are the things which are guiding us to move towards. If VUCA analysis shows that there is a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of complexity, and a lot of ambiguity, it must be done with an agile method. If the volatility is not that very low, uncertainty is very low, complexity is very low, or ambiguity is very low, it simply indicates it could be done by predictive method. Right? So VUCA is an interesting technique, but you see, although more details are available, but I would not like to go into those details, but you can refer these methods from internet and see how do they explain it. But there are other methods also, like comparative advantage analysis.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah,
just
sure.
a little bit. What do you mean by political, like in TCOP analysis?
Okay, at the company level or at the country level, we are more concerned about the political aspect of that country or that organization.
Okay.
Right? But when we talk about TCOP, we are not concerned about that politics. We are talking about the internal politics within the project.
Okay, internal politics.
Yeah.
Okay. Like what? Could you give me a quick example, please?
Like, okay, now this term political is not a negative term by any chance. Political means how do we address issues in our organization? What is politically correct in our organization? Is there a channel of command? If there is no channel of command, then probably whatever the mechanism is, can you walk directly to the CEO and talk to him? or there
Okay,
is a
clear.
procedure or a mechanism. This is the politics within
Okay,
the
so you're
organization.
talking about like political ways of working. Like, for
Exactly.
example,
Exactly.
when we hire a project manager, for example,
Yes.
a lot of people think that your technical is the most important, but actually it's how
Exactly.
you carry yourself, you know, because to see if you will fit within the organization. That's
Definitely. Definitely.
understood.
So
Understood.
you should be politically correct. I fully
Clear.
agree with whatever you had said earlier
Mm,
about the closed door, open door policy. So
mm-mm.
you have to understand the politics of your organization,
Correct.
as if we know how do you
Yeah.
address the CEO, or how do you walk into someone's office, or how do you talk to someone, or
Okay.
who is the right person to make a decision on something. This is
Hmm.
political awareness.
Understood. Thank you.
Most welcome. Okay, other methods which could be done, could be used for analysis of a business environment. One is a comparative advantage analysis. Have you heard
Mhm.
about it?
Uh, yes, but not able to re-explain.
Well, you see two situations and you compare their advantages. Whichever
Hmm.
has better advantages, you select that, isn't it?
Hmm.
You have two options to do something. You say,
Hmm.
okay, what are the advantages of option one? What are the advantages of option two? You
Hmm.
compare those advantages, and whichever option offers better and more advantages, you go for it. That is simple comparative
Yep.
advantage analysis.
But it's not a pros and cons.
Well, of course, when you are doing
Okay.
comparison, you have to look at the pros and cons as well.
Okay. Clear.
Then feasibility study is very common. I think you understand what is a feasibility study. That is the
Hmm.
business case, development of the business case.
Yep.
You actually do the feasibility study. And interestingly, uh, depending on your situation, you
Hmm.
might have been using PESLE analysis, TCOP analysis, or BUCA analysis in your feasibility study. Might
Hmm.
I don't say that you have been using it, but
Hmm.
depending on the situation, you may be using any of those analysis techniques in your feasibility, because
Hmm.
these techniques are for the feasibility purposes.
Hmm.
And I also mentioned to you, it is not always about the money.
Hmm.
Although money is a very important thing,
Hmm.
financial feasibility is the most important thing, but at the same time, other aspects have to be seen. And that is exactly why we introduced PESLE, TCOP, and BUCA for you.
Hmm.
SWOT analysis, I hope you understand that.
Hmm.
So it could be done, SWOT analysis could be done uh, on any situation. It could be done at the strategic level. It could
Hmm.
be done at the departmental level. It could be done at the team level. And it
Hmm.
could even be done at the individual level.
Hmm.
So what do? You identify for the requisite, whatever the situation is, what are
Hmm.
our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our opportunities, and what are our threats. Now let me describe what are these four things. Strengths and weaknesses are things which you possess. So they
Hmm.
are fully in your control. If you are
Hmm.
good at writing, that is your strength. If you are bad at paraphrasing, it is your weakness,
Hmm.
right? But opportunities and threats, they are not in your control. These are uncertainties which you could face, which could
Hmm.
result in benefit. So they are opportunities. And those uncertainties which can damage you, they are
Hmm.
your threats. But as a good team member, for a good SWOT analysis, you have to identify all your strengths, all your weaknesses, all possible opportunities, and all possible threats. Now, what can you do with it? If you are doing a personal analysis, you say, okay, these are my strengths. I can do this very good, this very good, this very good. So you would know that, okay, I have identified these things as my strength. I did not know them before. Now that I know them, I can build on my strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And if you identify certain weaknesses in your personality, you would say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have to work on them. I have to eradicate these weaknesses. So naturally, your actions will actually be strengthening or, working on your weaknesses. On the other hand, if you could uh, recognize the opportunities open to you or threats you might be facing, you could be proactive and you could prepare yourself for that. Now, this analysis, as I said, could be done at the organizational level, at the strategic level, at any of the levels, even at the individual level or a team level. As a team, you could do that. What are our collective strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? What are our threats? And then you can strategize how should we attempt this situation.
We're doing a SWOT now.
Yeah, of course.
My strength
Why?
is that I have a lot of industry experience, but my weaknesses is that I don't know the best practice in, predictive or agile, right? So
Yeah,
we're learning,
exactly.
right? So I'm upskilling now.
So basically, trainings are a cause of that. Trainings educate you. They put you wise. They open up those things which you otherwise may not have been able to see. So that is very interesting that you said that we are actually going through kind of a SWOT analysis. Very nice. Next is assumptions analysis. Now, what is assumption analysis? Throughout our life, whenever we do things, there are certain things we know from our experience how to do it, and there are certain things we have never done before. But we can't just stop there for that data to become available. We have to move ahead. So what we do is, without wasting any time, we say, okay, let us assume that this can happen this way. And based on that assumption, you can keep on planning further. But remember, this assumption which you had taken might be right or might be wrong. It might prove wrong later. So as soon as that assumption is validated positively or negatively, you should immediately correct your course and replan your things accordingly. Assumption analysis is very, very interesting mechanism, and we will study that how assumptions are very important for risk analysis also. Then historical information, which is lying into the organizational archives, and in your project you are referring to certain experiences which the other project managers has experienced in their projects. So you can make use of that knowledge. So you can, before you can start planning for your project, you could look back into the experiences of other people and learn a lot many things from them, and then analyze your current project with respect to that knowledge. That is called historical information analysis. Whatever is relevant to your project, you pick it up and use it for the betterment of your project.
Is it like the lesson learned?
Of course, it is lessons learned. These are lessons learned.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, there are two concepts here. One is the lesson learned, and other is the knowledge base. I'll talk about them later. But as far as the lessons are concerned, they are just written guidelines that this is what we learned. This is what we learned. But knowledge is completely a different category.
Explicit and tacit kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Risk alignment with the organizational strategy. We have already talked a lot about the organizational strategy, and we do understand why do we need to align with the organizational strategy. But you see, when you are doing risk management in your project, whatever is the policy to deal with the risks at the organizational level, you have to follow that. So your risk alignment must be with the organizational strategy. You can't go, maybe your organizational strategy earmarks clearly that anything bigger than smaller than this is not a risk. So you should not be considering that as a risk in your project as well, because your organization has outlined. So we have to align our risk strategy according to our organizational strategy within our project. Well, just for your information, I have put down some of the slides from internet. I created these slides. This is Pesley analysis. The details are written here. They are not in the slides which are available with you. These things I have added myself, right? So if you like, you can, I can share it separately with you, or you can take a snap of these slides, and that could be very beneficial later. I'll not explain them, but this is the Pesley analysis. This is the TCOP analysis. Just look at it for some time.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the VUCA analysis. So where we said VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, it also stands for for vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. Right? If we are volatile, we have vision. If we are uncertain, we have to develop understanding for that.
Yeah.
If the things are complex, we have to bring clarity to that. If things are ambiguous, we have to be agile. Right? So anyways, these are some things about VUCA. Again,
these are good because it gives you the examples and a bit more explanation. So you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It gives context.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, this is a SWOT analysis. I hope one thing about SWOT analysis is, for the first time when I studied about SWOT analysis and I tried to use it in my organization, what I did was I started writing a detailed report. First, I wrote a heading, strengths, and then I kept writing strengths for 3 or 4 pages, and then I start writing weaknesses, and then I started writing opportunities and threats. I did understand the mechanism, but I did not understand one thing, that this is graphical in nature. It has to be done on the same big sheet of paper. You can't write this report in 20 pages. It is just one single large page divided into 4 parts. One part is strengths, one is weaknesses, and below that, opportunities and threat, and write down those things within that boxes. Then
you
compare
hear a lot about SWOT analysis, like you should do them, but I don't see a lot of people really doing SWOT analysis these days. Is it still like a common analysis
method? I suppose it is the most common analysis, but people ignore this because they think that, we can do it in our minds or something like that. They don't want to put it on in writing.
It's actually not easy to do, is it?
I think we should do it. We should do it. This is really a very good exercise because it clarifies your mind. Everything which is in your mind is brought onto the paper, right? And this could be like a chart. You can always refer back. Okay, I identify these strengths, but I have another strength. So let's add that strength to the chart. Right?
In the previous slides, when you were talking about, comparative advantage analysis, feasibility study, SWOT, assumptions, can you do a few of them on the same project? Because I've seen that where you do multiple.
You can do multiple what?
Multiple analysis approach.
Yeah, of course,
not just one,
Yes, of course. We can do multiple analysis. They are all related. You could do them while you are doing your feasibility analysis. You could use SWOT analysis there. While you're doing Pesley, you can use SWOT analysis there. While you're developing your strategy, you can use SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis can be used anywhere. Assumption analysis can be used anywhere.
I'm not talking about SWOT in particular. Like when I'm doing my feasibility study, sometimes I would do comparative at the same
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah. Agree.
assumptions, and then I use risk
Fully agree.
alignment,
Fully agree.
understood. Yeah.
Okay. Which three of the following are Paisley factors? You have read the Paisley factors, just
Yeah.
testing your knowledge.
Legal,
Legal,
social,
social,
political.
political.
And effectiveness is not,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, let's move on to internal business environmental factors. Now we are getting into the uh, environmental factors, right? Enterprise environmental, entire enterprise environmental factors, right? You see, I have given you enough example already, but you see, organizational changes can dramatically impact the scope. If things are happening in the organization, for example, if there is a hostile takeover, whole of the strategy of the organization is going to change. And naturally, do you not think that scope of your project will be impacted by that?
Obviously, uh, it may endanger the project.
It may even endanger the project. Maybe the new
Yeah.
strategy does not accommodate this project at all, and it has to be closed down immediately, right? So definitely, organizational changes can dramatically impact your scope. So you should quickly adjust to that. The project manager, the project sponsor, or the product owner, whoever is relevant, need to be familiar with business plans of the organization, how the organization is being reorganized due to that change, but how the processes have changed over time, and other internal activities, because you have to keep a very close eye on those things as if you can adopt them in your project.
Yeah.
Internal business changes might cause need for new deliverable. Maybe, earlier the project was to produce just a material, and now you are saying that that material should be promoted to next level. A new deliverable come out of it. Reprioritization of values. I said the business value, which was previously determined, has now changed. You have reprioritized the value, including the removal of existing deliverables. That means certain deliverables we were supposed to be creating in this project, they are no more needed, right? So naturally, internal business environmental factors can impact your project really hard. And that is why it is saying that you should keep a close eye on your business environment.
So I just shared a diagram, what I understand from this internal environment
Which
affecting the
diagram?
project, in the chat box here.
Okay, okay, okay.
I experienced that organizational changes because we had a new director. You have a new manager, you know what I mean, at a top level, and everything changed. The
Yes, of
scope,
course, of
the
course.
deliverables, the business plans, basically everything. It was quite maybe stressful is not the right word, but it was quite unsettling, you know?
Right. You see, in your chat, Tahir has sent this picture. Are you able to see that?
Hold on. Yeah.
You see, this is a nice picture. It says how internal environmental affects the projects. For example, project manager and sponsor and product owner, they could be familiar with business plans, reorganization, process changes, and these changes can cause new deliverables and reprioritize the value, and otherwise they can result in killing the project, right? So you have to adjust accordingly. I think this is a very nice diagram. Thank you very much. Did you
So
create it yourself or you got it
yeah,
from
sir,
some?
I created it by myself. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Here in front of you are some examples of organizational process assets and enterprise environmental factors in each category. OPAs in processes, policies, and procedures. Examples could be organizational charts, procurement policies, rules, hiring and onboarding procedures. So whatever are the existing processes, policies, and procedures of the organization, these are just some examples. There could be a long list. Then organizational knowledge base could be lessons learned repositories, libraries, or archives, or engineering wikis, which is a modern way of looking at it. That Wikipedia, you might have heard about that. So you could create your own wikis, like Wikipedia kind of a thing in your own organization for your maybe engineering purposes or whatever the purpose is. So they could be also examples of the knowledge bases. As far as enterprise environmental factors are concerned, internals could be, like you said, resource capability, organizational culture, IT software, what you are using, that might be internally being used, and that has to be a limitation on you.
I was just going to give you that as an example of internal enterprise environmental factors where you may need a particular software, but you're not allowed to go outside and and use one. You must use what the company has. That's limiting, even though you know it may not be the most suitable software. Okay.
So this could be one of the examples. The distribution of
this is a good
facilities.
slide.
This is also internal matter. And external matters could be like, marketplace conditions are dictating certain things you can do and things you can't do. Then there are laws, regulations, standards coming from the outside, external, maybe from the government, maybe from the standard making bodies or things like that. Then there are operating conditions. It's too hot or too cold to work. There is a tornado going on. You can't work and things like that. And then social and cultural influences. These are all external. They are not in your control, but you have to live with them and you have to adjust according to them.
I thought operating conditions would be like in New Zealand, if you were a truck driver, for example, you can only drive for 10 hours. That's a policy.
Of course.
You know what I mean? That's an external. You cannot drive any longer than that without taking a 12-hour break.
Exactly.
For example.
There are two things attached to it. Number one, there's a human factor. How much a human can work. And second, this could be a law of the land. Your government has imposed that you will not be making a person work more than this many hours. Right? So this kind of thing could be either from the law or from the ethical side of it.
Okay,
these are some examples of the case study I had shown you earlier. The project manager of Shoppe Lifestyle Center identified these 6 items. Can you recognize which of them are enterprise environmental factors and which of them are organizational process assets? Take your time.
A is economic demand for a new shopping area. Is EEF?
Okay, do you agree, Nurul? He says A is a enterprise environmental factor. Do you agree with that?
I'm still trying to decipher. You're a lot faster than me, Tahir. I'm thinking environmental is ways of working. Organizational is about process. So a demand for a new shopping area is not a process, it's an environment. So it's EEF.
Right.
Historical society conservation and building regulation.
That's OPA, surely.
Yeah, OPA.
Are you sure? OPA comes from the
Or
organization. This is coming from the
yeah, these
historical society.
are
This is coming
yeah,
from outside.
external. External,
Okay.
so EEF.
It is
PE.
also an EAF. Third,
Yeah, local neighbor demand for better town center. Again, EEF.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and archive of past infrastructure project. This is OPA.
OPA.
E is approved vendor and
OPA.
contractors list. OPA. Tenant selection
OPA.
process. OPA. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good, very good. First three are
about three.
enterprise
Yeah,
environmental factors, and the next three are OPAs.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here, another question. This is a very interesting question, and I would rather like you to remember it. This is a statement. Tell me it is true or false.
Mm-hmm.
Enterprise environmental factors are conditions, either internal or external, to the organization that are not under the control of the project team, which can influence, constrain, or direct the project at the organizational, portfolio, program, or project level.
Yay.
Yeah, because it's a
Yes,
good definition of this
this is a
EEF.
beautiful definition, a very detailed definition of enterprise environmental factors. The answer is yes. But I
Yeah.
would like you to remember that or write it down somewhere because this is the most comprehensive definition of enterprise environmental factor you can ever find.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read it again to you. Enterprise environmental factors are conditions, either internal or external, to the organization that are not under the control of project team, which can influence, constrain, or direct the project at the organizational portfolio, program, or project level, any level. But the interesting thing is, enterprise environmental factors are not something negative. They could be good, they could be bad, right? Do not consider that they are always going to be negative. So they can influence, they can constrain, or they can direct. Constrain and direct are opposite. Direct is something good for the project. Constrain is something which is hindering the project, right? So they can be good, they can even be bad, right? But they both are influencing you in one way or the other, positively or negatively. So this thing you should remember that enterprise environmental factors could be good for you, could be bad for you. But either way, they are influencing you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any power over them, but they are influencing. Another question here, which three of the following are examples of internal enterprise environmental factors?
External would be
External
economy, the government, and legal restriction.
and legal restrictions. You are right. Employee capability is an internal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we are done with this topic and we move on to the next topic, which is topic C. I know we are taking too much time, but I would be happy if you are satisfied with what we are doing. If you are not, you still can stop me and ask me more questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to take another little break of 10 minutes?
Sure, sir.
Okay. So we can have another break of 10 minutes and then we will start the project benefits and value. Thank you and take care.
See you soon.
Yes, Tayyab.
जी sir.
Have you attended this before? ये वाला portion of this मेरे साथ attend किया हुआ है?
ये सब नहीं अटेंड किया था, मेरे ख्याल से ये पहला वाला रह गया था।
पहले वाला है, अच्छा ठीक है।
जी, लेकिन मैंने वो वीडियो लेक्चर जो है वो रिवाइज किया था।
Okay, okay. Right. Welcome back, Nurul.
Thank you.
So we are slow and steady, but we have moved on to the third topic.
We will never complete this course.
We will, definitely.
Okay.
And you will be so well prepared for that. You
I
would have
don't
gone
know.
through everything.
You know, I work like 9 hours during the day.
Okay.
And then at night, I do this. I wonder how many will be retained.
Right.
That's why you have to do the practice exams, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So now we talk about the project benefits and value. Naturally, I have already talked about the business value, and naturally we have talked about how our project must be aligned with the business value. So the benefits coming out of the project must be in alignment with the business value, right? That means the benefits realized out of the project would generate value for the business, right? That is the meaning of this. Okay. First of all, let's talk about what is business value. As you said, that this is something quantifiable. Yes, of course, it is quantifiable, but it is also unquantifiable. That could be tangible as well as intangible. Tangibles are like which could be, you can calculate it, but intangible is which are not calculatable. Like, the compensation you get from your work is tangible benefit. But the satisfaction you get out of that work is intangible. But satisfaction also matters. If someone tells you what is the net quantifiable benefit of your job, you would say, well, I get this much salary, but I get a lot of satisfaction. I say, how much satisfaction? So can you convert it into tangible terms? Maybe it is difficult, but if we can somehow convert it into tangible terms and add it all up, it will be the net quantifiable benefit. For example, you say satisfaction is worth $1,000 and I get $3,000 otherwise. So net quantifiable benefit is $4,000. This is how you do it. You have to look at both the tangible and the intangible benefits. Part of the objectives and description of the project is in the initiating agreement. When you receive the charter, or when you are kind of getting an agreement on what to do on this project, that pretty much defines what is the business value expected out of this project. What is the total worth, net quantifiable worth of this project? And as far as the benefit realization is concerned, now this is interesting because benefit realization from a project doesn't happen immediately after the project. Do you agree with me? For example, you are establishing a trucking system. The project will develop the trucking system, but the ultimate benefit of that trucking system might come down the road after 6 months or a year. So the actual benefit realization of this project will happen later, long after the project has finished. Right? But at the same time, when the project finishes, it will deliver its deliverable, plus it should be functional. Whatever the project delivers, it must be functional. As far as the deliverable is concerned, you can see that. But whether it functions or not, though it is not the long-term benefit, it is not the business value, but that is also a kind of benefit. Okay, this is a truck and it runs, it works, it can be driven. So when you say it can be driven, you have validated its functionality. That means short-term benefit is to be proven at the time of delivery. Agreed?
Yes.
This short-term benefit is called outcome of the project. And the trucking system you have created, that is the output of the system. It is functional, that is the outcome of the system, right? I hope we have already discussed the terminology outputs and outcomes. Now, what is the benefit coming? Benefit is coming long after, maybe 6 months after, or a year after, and realization of benefit cannot be the responsibility of the project manager. It is the responsibility of the people who are running the show, who are handed over the product of the project. They will run that equipment and they will be responsible for the benefit realization. Or maybe the business analyst who conceived the benefit realization is responsible for the benefit realization. Or maybe it is someone else in the organization who can be held responsible, but not the project manager. Project manager cannot be held responsible for benefit realization.
We are not responsible, but sometimes we are asked to track them.
Track them, then you are acting as a business analyst.
Correct.
Right? In that position, you are supposed to track it. But at the okay, one thing I must clarify here. While you are doing the project, naturally you are holding the business case. Project manager holds the business case, which was created by the business analyst, but naturally that describes the benefit realization. When you are designing the project, when you are creating the design of the project, you must ensure that all those benefits which are listed for this project should be realizable. Right? That much is your responsibility, that you ensure that all those benefits will be realized ultimately. They should be designed into the system. But you are only responsible for handing over the outputs or the outcomes. The long-term benefit realization, as I said, is not your responsibility. It is someone else's responsibility.
Yeah.
So that is as far as the business value is concerned. I would say, how do we examine this business value? Okay. Let us say, what is the business value of your organization? If I ask you, what is the tangible and intangible business value of your whole organization, can you somehow estimate that? In a way, I'm asking you, what is the current worth of your organization? If this organization is to be sold out today, how much money will it bring?
Like the financial gain, new customer base, social benefits,
and the asset value of that organization today. That is a tangible. Then we have got many untangibles.
Yeah.
Intangibles, like, we have got a good customer base. So whomsoever is taking over that company, they will inherit that customer base. Our name will be inherited. Our trademark will be inherited. So all those things will bring value along with it. So they are intangible, but they are valuable.
I don't have those numbers on top of my head now, but it can be calculated because there are parts of the business that has been sold off, right? The entirety that includes the brand, the assets, whether they're tangible or not, the market share, all of that stuff gets
Yes,
compiled to a particular number. And then
exactly.
you can extrapolate it. I know it's extremely high level, but if you have to sell everything, including all of the assets, the
Yeah,
brands, what it's worth, I think you can make a high level prediction.
very good. So you understand what I am saying?
Yeah.
That means, for example, if you have estimated the sum of all the tangible and intangibles to be, say, $5 million. So $5 million is your current business worth. It doesn't mean I'm asking you to sell it. I'm just saying to determine what is your current business worth. It is $5 million. Now keep that in mind that your current business value is $5 million. What do you expect? I'm not talking about the, which I have already discussed with you about the vision and mission. I'm not talking about that. But I'm saying in, say, by the end of next year, do you want to see the same business value or you want to see your business value increased?
Increased.
Increased. So every action you take in this organization must serve to increase the business value, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
If in this organization you are doing a project and your project is not serving to add any business value, no matter whether it is aligned with the vision or mission or strategy, but it is not adding any value to the organization. This is a 1-year project. At the end of the 1 year, this project has not contributed a single penny to the project. Then do you think it is feasible to go on with this project? No. So this is a completely new dimension. Your project is aligned with the vision, mission, strategic goals and objectives, but still it is not generating enough value. So probably this is a candidate for exclusion from the list of the projects from this organization. You see,
when you're running a project, though, typically at the beginning of the financial year, you set, the financial for the year. How much are you estimating, right? Once the year ends.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Month on month. And your project is included in that if it finishes in March, for example, you have, from, as you say, you don't always realize the benefit early on.
Immediately after.
You might wait for 3 months, but then it's tracked, right? You have your
right.
forecast.
But what does your projection tell you? Will this project be able to create some kind of business value, the desired business value or not? If it doesn't, then probably you should take action beforehand. If you don't see this project delivering any value in next 10 years, right? Why are you doing this project?
But this is not for the project manager to do. We typically have a financial.
Project manager is now, because he is in charge of the business case, he can always come up with his reduction and put it up to the sponsor or the high level management that I don't see any value generated out of this project and therefore I recommend it to be closed down immediately. You understand my point? So this is definitely the responsibility of project manager to keep looking at the business case and keep looking at the justification for the business case. And if it is getting out of it is basically the case of the feasibility. It is no more feasible because it is not going to generate the value. Feasibility is all about the money.
Clear. So the project manager monitors and have a look if it's still going to deliver, but they don't determine that at the very beginning, right? We talked about this.
They can't because initially the business analyst determined that this project is going to be feasible.
Yeah.
Now the business case has been handed over to the project manager. Now project manager is in charge of the business case until the project is handed over.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, while the project is going on, if project manager realizes that business case is not good enough, or it is not going to be generating the desired business value ultimately, he could always suggest closure of the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Clear. Tahir
Very
could
nice.
actually make another diagram, you know, to
Yeah,
explain. I'm
I
just
do have
kidding.
a di
I'm just
by the
kidding.
way,
Yes,
by
that
the
would have
way,
been.
I do
Yeah, you
have a
can share it.
diagram.
Right?
Yeah, let me share it. I'm taking a screenshot. Uh, yeah, here we go. I just created the, for my understanding
Very
perspective.
nice. You are doing a very good job.
Yeah, I was trying to like
Yeah.
getting the
Good.
concept.
So the conception of project need assessment, can you say it, Nurul?
Yeah.
So conception of project need assessment of the project, that is role involved business analyst and stakeholder by understanding of organizational goals and objectives. Good. Business case is developed, skeleton plan, which should be done. Role involved business analyst and the stakeholder. Very good. Then the documents are business case and the benefit management. These are the two documents to be created by the business analyst. Then business case is approved. After it is approved, it is assigned to a sponsor. Role involves strategic management assigned a sponsor to the project. And then the project charter is developed by the sponsor. And project manager is given the project and he is responsible for closure until the closure of the project. But again, I would say not for the benefit realization. Project manager is not responsible for the benefit realization, but he is
Yeah,
responsible for upkeeping the business case. If there is something wrong with the business case, he can always suggest that. But benefit realization is not going to happen at the time of closure of the project. This would be happening long after the project has been done.
And it's the business analyst that relooks
Yes.
at that again, isn't it, long term?
For
Along with
example,
the problem.
if you have handed over the project to the customer, and while a customer is not running it properly, ultimately it is not expected that those benefits can ever be realized, then that initiative, it is no more a project, it is now an operation. That initiative must be closed down at that point. And naturally, I am not there to suggest because my job is done. I was the project manager. I have gone home. Now, the people who are looking after the benefit realization will decide whether this initiative should go on or should be closed down. It can be closed down in operations also.
so basically the business analyst who is the custodian of benefit realization.
Yes, actually, yes, you are right. Business analyst came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And he actually should be held responsible until the benefit realization.
Yeah, he worked throughout from the conception to the closure.
Yes, until and unless the responsibility is handed over to someone, maybe to an operational department or to the customer, then business analyst can disengage, but then they will be responsible for the benefit realization. So they will be answerable if the benefits are not realized and the value is not generated at the end of it. Got it? Good. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
You're not expecting me to create anything, right? Because I am not good at
Tahir
doing
probably has been preparing for it and he has been doing it very frequently. He always contributes with his diagrams all the time. And this is really very nice help to us.
Perfect.
So types of business value, as I said, it is not only about the finances or the money. It is naturally financial gain is one of the major contributors to the business value, but there are other intangibles which could also be counted as the contributors, like the new customers you are handing over, the social benefit you are handing over. Okay, first to market. What happens when you are first to market something? What happens then?
Sometime when the product comes in a market in a first place,
Yes,
so the other will remember the name throughout the uh, throughout the life.
right.
Uh, Telenor introduces the Easy Pesa.
Hmm.
That's a financial app.
Right.
So their competitors also introduces the
A
app
similar concept.
Jazz
Yeah.
Cash, yeah, similar concept, but people used to like call it Easy Pesa every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me tell you one thing. There is a very interesting thing attached to the concept of first to market. Whomsoever is first to market a concept, he that party collects the lion's share of the profit. Lion's share of the profit. Others
Exactly.
to follow will be kind of feeding on crumbs. They are not getting that much, but the person who first introduced that concept actually enjoys, right? I hope you agree with me.
Yeah.
Well, we believe in fast following.
Yeah, of course, people
So we
should
don't
follow.
always, it's a risk that the company would like to take. We don't always have to be first to market. Sometimes there is
Okay,
advantage.
okay, I
Yeah,
agree.
like sometimes they let other people go first to market,
Right.
fail first. We learn from them and then we do it better.
Okay.
I mean, it's not great. You know what I
No,
mean?
no,
That
I
there's
understand your strategy. That is very right.
authenticity to that, but it happens.
Say there are
Uh,
100 inventors,
Mm,
you adopt their invention in your system,
hmm
100 invention, naturally you are going to earn a lot out of it. It's a tested methodology, 100 tested inventions you are using in your system. Naturally, you are going to make a lot of money out of it. But you
hmm
see, the person who gave the idea, he has the royalty. So he gets
hmm
his share anyways.
hmm
So he gets the lion's share anyways. But you
hmm
are collectively maybe making more money than any one of them.
hmm
so
So,
we can take example of Tesla.
yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah,
You know,
because
Tesla
they
are
are pioneering. Yeah.
so intelligent people that
mm
they first try to sell off their things at the very expensive rate because nobody else was the competitor. Then
hmm
they got into the consumer market, right? Now they are making TVs and fridge at half the cost.
hmm
You understand my point? What they have done is they have got a logo of Tesla on everything, and
mm
because they have got a lot of capacity, they can produce things at much lesser cost. They are selling it at half the cost, and uh, everybody else is going for out of the
hmm
market. Else is going out of the market.
You're right. They could sustain being first to market and stay being first because they are very good.
Very
You know,
good. Yes,
like you have to be very good. If your competitors come in and better, that's
exactly.
that's hard. I'm sure there's example where you are second to market and then now you dominate the market.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know?
You have
Okay.
actually made your name out of it. Your kind of logo is everything.
Mm,
So you can sell anything by that logo, but it's not always money. It is sometimes
mm.
it is not quality, but it is quantity. So now they
Okay.
are working on quantity.
Yeah.
Anyways, another contributor to the business value is continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You are already aware about the concept of continuous improvement. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you are doing, that is going to bring some technological advancement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually not maybe apparently it doesn't relate to the finances, but it does in long run.
Mm-hmm.
Regularization, you are aligned or you are in compliance with some standards or regulations. Well, that is a good example where if your organization is ISO certified, your market is will go up because your buyers will have more confidence in you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you follow some compliance of standards or align with some compliances, you can have a logo of ISO or something on that, that we are quality compliant, we are this, we are that, and your things will sell better. That will also fetch you more money. So these are various types of business values, and there could be more, and you should be able to identify them as if you can calculate the business worth at any time. Then comes the need assessment. Okay, whose is the job of the need assessment? Who
Business
starts
analyst.
identifying the requirements?
Your business analyst.
Business analyst. Although his work is continued by the project manager, but initially the person who is in charge of the requirements and need assignment is basically the business analyst. That is one of the reasons when I was telling you the various knowledge areas, do you remember? There was no knowledge area by the name of requirement management. And I told you then that requirement management is not the job of project manager. It is the job of business analyst. But when the business case has been handed over to you, any further requirements collection would then become your responsibility. So you will follow some requirement management plan, but that is not your core 10 knowledge areas. That is addition to that. That's why we considered requirement management as part of scope management. So while we were doing scope management, we created two management plans. One was the requirement management plan, and the other was the scope management plan. Why? Because based on the requirements, we can establish the scope. Right? So first we must firm up the requirements, and then we will establish the product scope, then we will establish the project scope, and only then can we proceed ahead with the planning of the project. Although requirement was not my job, but without requirement, I could not have proceeded to the level of executing the project. Therefore, I take on the remaining responsibility of requirement management as a project manager, right? But anyways, the question is that it is basically the job of business analyst. And as I defined to you, that business analyst and project managers can be and should be two separate people, right? If they are two separate people, then business analyst and project manager might be working together throughout the life of the project. In that case, business analyst will always remain responsible for the product scope and the requirements, whereas project manager will only be responsible for the project scope. But if they are one and the same people, then naturally all the responsibilities have to be on the shoulders of the project manager. So naturally, he creates a business analyst, creates the business case, and before he could create the business case, there must be a business need existing. Assessing the need within the organization, whether we should go for some new initiative or not, need assessment is required. Based on the need assessment, he creates, if there is a need existing in the organization, he creates a business case which includes the feasibility. It involves understanding the goals, business goals and objectives, and issues and opportunities. And then he analyzes and does that Presley analysis or whatever kind of analysis. And ultimately, he recommends that this is the business case and this is how it could be done. So he recommends a proposal to address what should be done. Very broadly, it is not a detailed plan. It is just a feasibility plan, right? It can be done. It should be done. These are the apparent constraints, assumptions, risk or dependencies of this likely project. These are the success measures, and this could be the implementation approach. But you see, actually, project manager, when he would be assigned and he would be given the charter, he would be the one who would be planning the detailed project management plan. So, as I had been discussing with you, Nurul, I said that a business case is not where the budget can be allocated. Budget can only be allocated when the project manager has developed his plan, presented his plan for approval of the budget, only then the project plan can be approved.
So I have a very quick question. You know, we talked about sometimes operation people that can also run projects if you know the project is small enough and they can be taken out of their day job and focus on project. Sometimes that happens, right?
Yes.
It's incredibly difficult, isn't it? Because they sometimes don't have the skill set, and especially if you then asking an operational person to do both BA and PM, it's almost setting them up to fail from the very beginning, unless you are trained or unless you have a mentor that can explain all of this, you know. But otherwise, their day job is day-to-day operations. Am I making sense?
Actually, you see, yes, it is right. But at the same time, you must understand that operations people cannot do this job of project management because they have otherwise a plate full of work, right? Even if there is a need for a project within operations, I can understand that within the operations, you are running a project, but then it is a separate team who should be running the project, even if it is happening within the operation. So I would still like to dedicate a separate team for that kind of experiment, as if operations can take over. But no, project could happen anywhere. It could happen within a department or outside of a department.
I understand the good practice, but sometimes when the budget is tight and
Yes,
there
I
is
know.
no money, sometimes they ask operations people to run projects. And this is when, you know, it's very difficult, especially if as the PMO, for example, my role is to help upskill them. It's an extremely big gap to, you know, to upskill.
Right, right. Yeah, I do understand that does happen.
Okay.
Anyways,
Understood.
I think we are up with the time, and this is 44, slide number 44. Oh, let's do a little bit of questions before we can end this. Often before a project starts, business analyst or engineer conduct a new need assessment for project approval and funding. Which two of the following are items identified or specified in a need assessment? Well, answer is already apparent to you. Business goals and objectives should be clear to them, and potential constraints and assumptions, as we have already talked about it. Constraints, assumptions, and all that, and business objectives, naturally, goals and objectives. Okay, we will discuss tomorrow from this point onwards, that is 46 number slide, and we will talk about the business document, which he has already mentioned, Tahir has already mentioned. There are two business documents, the benefit management plan and the business case, right? We'll talk about them tomorrow. Any questions at the end of it?
No, thank you.
Nothing.
You are most
Thank
welcome.
you.
Take care and see you again tomorrow. Thank
Thank you
you
very
and bye-bye.
much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.